Hey guys, Yophi here. I wanted to talk to you about an Old Testament topic. You know, I'm not an Old Testament scholar. I'm not a New Testament scholar. I'm not a scholar. I'm just a man who loves Jesus. So I was watching something, and this man had brought up something about the Ten Commandments, and it was pretty amazing. I looked it up, and sure enough, it actually matched. And the reason why I'm bringing it is because I believe that it has a lot to do with many of the issues, many of the problems that we face today. At least I do. And it had to do with the Ten Commandments, specifically taking the Lord's name in vain. Now, when this is brought up, normally the thought process behind it is saying God for no reason. If you say, "Oh my God," then that is bad. You're taking the Lord's name in vain. But as usual with the Ten Commandments, it's deeper than that. You know how, like, when we say "thou shalt not kill," it's actually "thou shalt not murder." And you know, it's actually about, you could actually murder a person's reputation and still be breaking that commandment. You know, there's usually something deeper behind the way that the Jews looked at it compared to how we look at it. So as far as taking the Lord's name in vain, you know, we just think you can't say OMG or "oh my God." Not that I do that a lot. It's just, that's the stigma. You are breaking the commandment if you do it. And there are some who condemn. I've written down "oh my God" on a piece of paper years ago, and someone came and erased it. You know, like, you're supposed to be a preacher. You can't say that. So, you know, it gets pretty serious. However, when you look at this, and it actually makes a lot of sense, it meant not to carry God's name in vain. Not necessarily the word God, because God is not God's name. His name is Yahweh, and his son's name is Jesus, or Yehoshua. You want to use Hebrew. Some people get a big hoopla and fight about that. I'm not fighting about that, not into that. But it's not so much as saying the name itself. It's about how you live your life. How are you living your life with this name? What does this mean? Well, do you claim that you are a child of God? And if you do, you are carrying the name of the Lord with you wherever you go, whatever you do. Now, if you are carrying the name of the Lord and you are doing this in vain, if you are doing this with no purpose, if you are doing this and yet still living in a way that's carnal, that's sinful, this is carrying the name of the Lord in vain. This is breaking a commandment, because people are now associating God with what you're doing. How many times do we see people who claim to be Christian but steal? They murder people's reputations. They say and do some of the meanest, most horrible acts. I'm not talking about they stand up for the Lord and people get offended. No, I'm not talking about that, how Jesus offended them because of the gospel. No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about people who literally claim to be Christian but are out there fornicating, but are out there being drunkards. Now, when atheists come and someone who's actually living the life and not carrying the name of the Lord in vain, what do they associate God with? Do they associate God with those who are actually carrying the name of the Lord? Or do they associate God with those who carry the name of the Lord in vain? Who told them things like, "You're not saved, you're never going to be saved, you're going to hell," and then curse them out? You see, when you carry the name of the Lord in vain, you do more damage than any atheist or agnostic could do. Christianity is now associated with people who fight wars, with people who have done just horrible, horrible things. And Christianity truly does owe the world an apology for how the way they've carried the name of the Lord in vain. There are those who do live the gospel. We are out there. We're out here. We are doing things the way that Jesus did them, to the best of our ability, and then some, because the Holy Ghost helps us. However, when you carry the name of the Lord in vain, when you curse people out, when you fornicate, when you steal from the church, when you do all of these types of things, trust that you are breaking a commandment and you are using the name of the Lord in vain, and you are doing more damage than anyone ever could against God. You are doing more damage than Satan can do against God, because when people are evil and they break the commandments, they're expected to. But when you claim to be saved, to be Christian, and you are out there doing certain things, the world looks at that and they do what Satan does, and they say, see, I told you there was nothing to that God Christ thing. So today is a day to live the way that God says that you can live. We are Christian. Let us act like it, not in name only, but in word and deed. Let us love one another. We don't always have to agree, but we will be known by the love that we have one to another. Love God with all your heart, soul, mind, strength, and love your neighbor as yourself. In that order. I hope this has blessed you. I hope that it has challenged some of you. It definitely challenges me to be who God says I am every day, every moment. Be blessed, guys, because you are. Peace.